Yeah, great to have your company on DXB today. Hope you're enjoying the show this evening. Plenty to think about, that's for sure. We are tapping into the world of psychology. We're focusing on the power of persuasion. Or does persuasion give you a position of power? These are the questions we're answering tonight. Now, on with the rest of the show. According to our next guest, nothing works without people. Please welcome Samar Abou Daher, the Director and People Culture at Bidfood Middle East and trainer in Qualified Negotiator Program. Big old title, but a man who's going to explain it all to us. A Director of People and Culture, get that as well. It's not that often I meet a qualified negotiator, but that's something that you are, Samar. I'm sure the power of persuasion comes into a negotiation process, but what would you say are the biggest sort of misconceptions when it comes to negotiation?
First, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here.
Persuasion is the basis, is the science that negotiations is built on. So one of the big misconceptions is during negotiation you speak only to the brain. And that's a very big misconception, especially when you are in a tough negotiation. When your counterpart is not listening, is not showing any cooperation, and he is super emotional. So a very big misconception is when you try to speak logic. In this case, you need to address the emotions, wait until the balance between logic and emotion stabilizes, and then you can speak numbers, facts, figures, quality of your product, so on and so forth.
And just to be clear before we move on, because I know everyone's got a lot of questions, but when we talk negotiation, a lot of people will think, oh yeah, I've seen that film, and you've been talking to the hostage taker, etc.
Correct.
But we're negotiating all day, every day, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not a business skill. I see it as a life skill. You negotiate with your kids, with your friends. When you're selling an idea, you're negotiating to persuade others to do what you want, to say yes.
Yeah. and Samuel, we were talking before about the power of conflict and how important conflict is, managing conflict is in negotiation. Can you talk about that, and what's the link also between conflict and when to be collaborative and when to be competitive in conflict situations?
Absolutely. This is also one of the misconceptions. I mean, as a kid, I was taught by my parents to avoid conflict. Give your toys to your brother because he's crying. So we were taught to avoid conflict. But if you want to be a good negotiator, you have to embrace conflict. You have to understand it's part of the game. So you should not shy away from conflict. Take it as part of the game. Listen to understand first, seek to understand, then to be understood. And then this is where you bridge the gap, and then you make your negotiation counterpart listen to you and more receptive to your proposals, ideas, whatever you want to drive to.
I love that.
Well, I was talking about how much I enjoy personal development. I always have, and it always emphasizes the importance of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
How does that play a role in a negotiation?
Amazing question. Emotional intelligence is all about understanding your own emotions. Knowing that when your palms start sweating, that you're not feeling well. Something triggered you. In a tough negotiation, if you start feeling this, you need to be in a position to control your feeling. Something like fake it until you make it. You do not want to show your counterpart that you're not in control. So controlling your emotion is very important in negotiation. The second thing is finding cues, so looking at the other person's body language and trying to listen to what they're not saying. So don't listen with your ears, but listen with your eyes. See the body language, and then if you're a good negotiator, you can spot if the other person is leading to a yes or eventually gonna lead to a no. And
that sound everyone makes when you're talking. Yeah.
You see a lot of corporates today who are also applying ethical negotiation. So my question to you is, how do you remain composed yet confident when you are having uncomfortable or difficult negotiations?
Amazing. So 80% of winning a negotiation happens before the negotiation itself. First, in your mindset. Second, in your planning and preparation. So, if you put me on the spot now, I'm going to be very tense and very worried. I don't know what to tell you because I cannot be creative on the spot. But if you're prepared at home, in the office, mindset and with your demands, okay, then this is how you control yourself. And I'll give you an example. If your mindset is play to not to lose versus play to win. So you come to a negotiation aiming that I want to win. So that's one thing. Second is preparing your demands, because negotiation is all about giving something, but taking something in return. On the spot, I cannot think of 5, 6 demands to ask you. But if I'm prepared and it's written down, I come to a meeting fully ready, so it comes naturally to me.
And Samer, when do you think should be like a red line? Like, I'm gonna stop the negotiation now.
Yes.
That's it.
Amazing question. So, a no deal is better than a bad deal. And in many cases, sales managers or CEOs in companies, they're not happy when, for example, a sales manager say, I don't want to continue with this deal. But remember, not having a deal is a decision, is not a failure. So if you don't want to have a deal because it's losing, it's actually a success. It's not a failure. So you say no when you feel that it's beyond the scope of your negotiation. It's not adding value to you. Do you really want to sign a contract for 1 year with a client and you're bleeding revenue and margins every day? I don't think so.
Just a quick question to you both in summary, because one word that you've both used is listen. And I always remember, it reminds me of when I first started as a journalist many years ago, the best bit of advice my first editor ever gave me is just listen. He said you can prepare all the questions you want, but you've got to listen to the answers in order to get the full story, etc. In the world where our attention spans are getting shorter and there's so much happening, are we listening enough at the moment? Or are we listening less?
From my perspective, we're listening very less. And I give you a very typical example. You go on vacation, you come back and people ask you, how was your vacation? You say, I took my family to Maldives. And automatically someone will say, yes, I also went to the Maldives. I took my family, and they speak for half an hour. They steal your thunder. They steal your story. I call them story thieves. So we're not listening enough. And this is a very typical day-to-day example. Now, in negotiations or in any business interaction, we don't listen. Words means you're giving information, so you lose power. If you want to be in control, you have to speak less and listen. And they say, if you want to know how smart a person is, don't listen to what they say, listen to what they ask.
You know what they call him? Leopold the listener.
I'm listening. But you know, one of the things I love about listening is it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it's a method. It requires a specific method to do it that, you know, we're rarely taught how to do it. And I would say one of the ways to do it is to categorize whatever you're listening, like the ideas, the big concept in your mind, and then ask questions about them. And the second way, which is outstanding, is try to find something to like in the content you're listening to. Because when that finding is genuine, and you say, I really like the way Leopold is talking about persuasion. Now you activated your motivation, and now you are genuinely interested to learn more instead of actually, you know, talking more.
Right. Incredible advice, gentlemen, and thank you, Samer, so much for joining us. You're so passionate about your job as well, which is great. I can imagine what a great negotiator you'd be.